Hey BBs, it's me, your favorite auntie Marjan Carlos, and this is your favorite auntie show, powered by Cash App. This is a new kind of advice show brought to you by someone you actually listen to. Step into my proverbial living room every week for on-the-pulse cultural commentary, hard-to-hear advice, and must-hear interviews with some of the biggest names in fashion, media, entertainment, and beyond. It's enlightening, fun, stylish, and a little messy, just like your favorite auntie. On today's episode, I'm joined by my guest, the artist and entrepreneur, Cami Árboles. I, like so many of Cami's followers, discovered this shape-shifting goddess in the middle of COVID, when the then-Yale graduate took to the pole in her cap and gown to celebrate earning her degree in performance from the Ivy League school. The performance challenged the paradox of the pole's place within the presence of certain lofty institutions and was literally a turning point for the lifelong performer and trained opera singer who had once been pre-med. The LA native's career in pole took off amid COVID when so many of us were looking to get out of our heads and into our bodies, with the founding of her own movement center in LA and her work with such artists as SZA and FK Twigs. We'll be talking to Árboles about her pole dancing career, the power of embodiment, and what's next in movement for her. But before all that, Auntie's got to pay a bill. As a freelancer and entrepreneur, Auntie dreads nothing more than taxes. Like, can I live? But I just learned how simple and safe it is to file your taxes with Cash App. It's quite literally free and easy to file from any device with accurate calculations to max your refund. Even if your taxes are complicated, it's free $99 to file, no upsells, no hidden fees. Plus, Cash App includes free audit defense with every return. Just take a photo of your W-2 and follow the step-by-step instructions to get started, and leave the math to Cash App. And the best part? Your refund can land up to 5 days early and be deposited directly into your Cash App account. I'm living. Cami Árboles is an artist and entrepreneur born and raised in Los Angeles, California. She graduated with honors from Yale University in the spring of 2020, just as the COVID-19 pandemic began. With newfound time on her hands, Cami set up a pole in her auntie's living room and began dancing as a form of fun and catharsis during otherwise uncertain times. Sharing her journey on social media via Instagram and TikTok, one viral video of her pole dancing in her Yale cap and gown post-graduation launched her into a career of content creation and entrepreneurship. In summer 2020, she launched MBSC, Mind, Body, Spirit Collective, an online platform offering yoga, pole dance, flexibility, HIIT, martial arts, meditation, and somatic healing to women and non-binary people worldwide. Since then, MBSC has reached thousands of students globally. Cami continues to teach sold-out pole dance and flexibility workshops across the world, and by mid-2025, she will have hosted 10 unique pole dance workshop retreats in 7 different countries under MBSC. As a dancer, Cami has worked with artists such as SZA, FK Twigs, Gunna, Karol G, Snoop Dogg, and Umi, and has appeared in campaigns for brands such as Nike and Jumpman 23. Her work has also been featured in publications such as Forbes, The Cut, and Covertour. She is also an official Globe partner for On in 2025, partaking in the campaign The Body is Art. In her work as an educator, Cami champions an interdisciplinary approach to pole dance, merging intellectual curiosity with the artistry, sensuality, and athleticism of pole dance. She views movement not as a means to an end, but rather as a profound and intentional act in itself, one that honors the body as a site of expression, exploration, and empowerment. Through this lens, Cami celebrates pole dance as an artistic medium that unites the mind, body, and spirit, while encouraging practitioners to discover freedom and joy in their own movement journeys. Because what's the point if we're not having fun? I want to know, like, what you were like as a little kid, just having met you only once now. Like, this
I know.
twice.
I feel like I know you because I listen to your content and the podcasts, and I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But when I met you in real life, I was like, oh my God, she's so fab. What a queen.
When I met you, I was like, oh my God, it's Cami. It was like one name.
It was just Cami.
Just Cami.
Cami's here.
It was like Madonna, Beyonce, Cami. I was like, oh my God, it's Cami. Because it's like the lore, the woman. Like, and then, of course, I met you on the dance floor.
Duh. Where else? Like, where else would it be? That's the most fitting.
That was very, very fun. But I was like, I want to know. I want to go all the way back and start at your roots. And I think especially it's important now because of you're from LA.
Mhm.
You're a daughter of LA, and right now there's just so much devastation and a lot of loss and a lot of grief. And you are already, I can tell, a very optimistic person. So I would want to talk about LA and when it makes you happy and how it raised you and what the city was like when you were a little girl. And like, yeah, I want you to start there.
Amazing. So, yes, I'm proud to be born and raised in LA. My family has been there for a few generations now. My dad is Nicaraguan and Spanish, and my mom is Mexican. So there was generations from my mom's side living in LA and the neighboring regions, and then my dad is the son of immigrants. So his mom emigrated from Nicaragua. His father emigrated from Spain, from Barcelona. So yeah, the family has basically been around in LA for generations now, but a product of immigrants. And yeah, I actually grew up in Pasadena, specifically South Pasadena, which is part of LA County, but it's also its own separate thing. And I'm just so grateful to have grown up the way I did in such a rich place as LA. And it's also interesting for me too, as I approach into my 20-somethings and re-entered LA also as a creative professional. I think a lot of times in my young adult life, I've heard this sentiment, LA is so fake, I could never live there. And I really disagree. LA is not fake. It is a very real place filled with
families.
People of families, generations that have existed for, like I said, generations. And yeah, re-entering it as a creative professional has made me realize, okay, I think I understand where some of these notions of LA come from. But I'm so grateful that I got to experience it growing up, and that I'm able to call it home. And I think like the fact that my family is from there, all my closest friendships have existed there for so long now. It just, I'm just super proud to be from there. And it's definitely super devastating what's happening now. I know personally so many families, communities completely displaced and affected. I am a very optimistic person. A lot of people know me say it because one of my favorite things to say is like, today is the best day ever. Actually, I literally have it embroidered on this shirt. It says best day ever in the corner. My friends who own this brand, they also grew up in Pasadena. The brand is called Street Grandma, so it's a local brand founded by two baddies. But they made me this shirt and embroidered the best day ever because they know it's something I always say. But I think like when I came home to LA last week and saw firsthand just how things had changed in the way people were feeling and the way it felt when I was there, I had a moment to be like, you know what, sometimes it's really not the best day ever. Like, it's good to have optimistic and have this, to be optimistic and have this joy of rebuilding and have a high spirit. But it was just very devastating seeing how some of my extended family was impacted and displaced, seeing how so many people that I had grown up with, that had been friends with so long, seeing like how they were displaced, I'm at the same time feeling blessed that my family was safe, that my house was safe, but working to rebuild that all together. And then the whole time I'm thinking about, oh, wow, all the donation centers are filled. They're like turning away volunteers, turning away extra donations. And you still have people that want to believe that LA is fake and filled with people who are only self-serving. Like, no, I think like if anything I've realized from these past few weeks, the way the community has mobilized has taught me like our community and collective care will work faster and operate with more effectiveness than like any power or system that might be in place to even protect us. Like we really do need to lean on each other. And we see that in LA, and that made me even like more proud to be from there. And even when I was there speaking with my friends and like my community, I was just like thinking of what are ways like we can mobilize? Could we do like a donation-based class? What are ways that we can use like our talents and our skills to like give back to the community? So we were able to do that as well. But yeah, it's definitely going to be some time.
It is.
For this place to rebuild to what it was before. We have some of the most iconic destinations like Palisades and Malibu just completely transformed so suddenly. Same thing with like Pasadena, Altadena. I mean, those are like historically Black and brown neighborhoods. So we have literally generations of families that were brought up there and had emigrated there to start a new life in the United States, in Los Angeles. And now it's like majority of those neighborhoods that are gone. So yeah, right now is just collective and community care is what's going to save us. So I know we have that in LA, and I know it's going to continue. But I think it's also just so important. Like, I was just thinking this morning, even as I was like looking at Instagram stories, I'm like, dang, I'm seeing less and less of awareness. I'm seeing less GoFundMe's being shared. I'm seeing less like collective push to help the devastation. And it's like, no, we need to keep that going.
We
because
have to keep it going,
of course there's like a week of the news cycle where it's all you see, and then slowly it starts to fade. But I think that's going to be the most important thing. Is like, no, we need to keep pushing for this. We need to keep, again, going back to this collective community care, because that is what's going to save us at the end of the day. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that was like, yes, all of it. And I definitely see it in the videos that are being shared of people who are at like major donation centers, or there was a video, I think they were at like an arena, and it was just like filled, and people were making food, and they were like, distributing goods, and it was just like, and they were helping each other, and they were like directing traffic, and I was like, I need a volunteer for traffic, and someone popped up and helped. And like, I think that really, to your point, shows that LA is a city.
Yes.
And it's not just like an industry town.
Exactly.
And that there are families there. And there is this, because there's so many, I think, narratives about LA, right?
Yeah.
There's the industry city of it all, the Hollywood machine, and there's a lot of displacement and people who are unhomed right now. And then there are other, but then you're saying to this point, there's also like a lot of other things that are happening and that kind of create this whole community that like we kind of get, shitted on. I think we have a very like very narrow idea of LA in that sense.
Yes. And I just think like when, let's say a lot of these people who I think come to this preconceived notion of LA as people who are self-interested or fake or transactional, you need to think about, okay, what about your personal experience of LA is making you believe these things about this place? Because the reality is LA is not even a city. It's like this huge geographical region with swaths of neighborhoods and different cultures and different pockets. So if you are having a very limited experience that you don't resonate with, I think that goes back to you need to evaluate your experience and say, okay, if I believe this to be true about a place, what am I doing or not doing that is impacting my perception of the place? So it's like, if you feel like you're only experiencing fake transactional people, well, what circles are you putting yourself in? What did you go to LA for in the first place? Like, maybe you can expand your horizon a little bit. You could, I mean, there's like the great Kendrick Lamar lyric in his song Dodger Blue. He's like, it's basically a song about LA pride. And then he says like, don't say you're from LA if you don't travel past the 10, which is so true. There's so many people that are like, I live in LA, but they stick to their specific region of it and allow that to paint a whole notion and a whole story in their head about what LA is and what it represents, when it's just not that. It's so much more rich and varied than that. And we're seeing that now.
Now we are seeing that. And I also think that, to your point around community over government institutions, always, I hope that sentiment like just kind of just spreads across the country. I feel like that is going to be the message of the year.
100%. And it's like Pluto in Aquarius right now.
Ooh, what is that?
Which is, okay, I'm not an astrological expert, but I have been reading about this.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we're basically entering this new age where we're going to be seeing a lot of shifts in how power is represented and distributed.
Yes.
So part of that is like this collective consciousness waking up and realizing that there's, a lot of power in these top of this 1%. I mean, it's almost like if you look around at what's happening in the United States right now, it's shifting towards this top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. Gaining all the power, trying to buy out all our media. Yes, so many monopolies. The monopolies, even with the, recent killing of the CEO
Oh, yeah,
of United
of course,
Healthcare. We have that.
Luigi.
We have, yes, we have with Luigi. We have so many things happening
Yes.
in the collective consciousness right now that are hinting to like people waking up and realizing like, okay, we actually have power as a collective and we need to explore what that means a little bit more. So
I agree.
a lot of that happens in these moments of tragedy, in these moments of devastation where the stakes are so high. We have people losing their entire homes, childhoods, community, livelihoods. So we need to shift to waking each other up, waking ourselves up, and doing what we can to help and make a difference.
Absolutely.
So
no, I completely agree. And
that's
it's
Pluto and Aquarius.
That's
energy.
what I can't wait because I think it's time, and because I think also what happened, like you're saying, that there was devastation in the Pacific Palisades and then there was devastation in Altadena. And it's like, this is like a class equalizer. Like right now, like everybody hands on deck, like a lot of attention obviously was paid to celebrities at the beginning, but I think now people are really realizing that this is like, everybody's affected.
Everyone. It doesn't matter how much your home costs when you bought it. Like a fire can still come and take anything from you. It's all fleeting. Like at the end of the day, we really we have each other.
Yes, that's no. It's
we have each other.
No,
that's literally it.
Literally it. And like I think that's like the silver lining.
Yeah.
And as we try to figure out what happened, but so you grew up in this like really beautiful place. It's like a patchwork of cultures, and you come from a really diverse background of different cultures, Nicaraguan, Spanish, Mexican. How did your community encourage you as an artist? And when you were younger, like was little Cami like up with a little fake mic? Was your mom driving you to like class all the time? Like, were you just a natural born performer and artist?
I would say yes. I think my family would agree. I just always loved putting on a show. I've always had a lot of energy.
Yes.
A lot of energy. I don't know where this came from, but I've always been like this. Like, I've always been at 10 when I wake up pretty much almost every day.
I'm obsessed. Like, seriously, like, give it to me. Like, give it to me. Give.
Yeah, I feel like my first actually core memory of performing was, so I didn't really have like extended dance training. A lot of people ask me if I had a background as a dancer, which I don't really. I took ballet classes when I was like really, really little, just like, a lot of little girls do. And I think my first memory was, my favorite part of ballet class was always our teacher would give us quote unquote free dance at the end. So after you do all the exercises at the bar and you would just get a couple minutes at the end of class to free dance and twirl and do whatever you want. And that was my favorite because I could just be in my own world and just, it would feel nice and it would be fun. And I always loved free dance. So my first dance recital, and probably my only dance recital, I remember we did, again, I must have been like 5 or 6. Like, this is one of my first memories. I remember we did like the full show. We did our numbers. And then I just didn't, I guess, fully understand the concept of what a recital was. And that at the end of the recital, you're supposed to take a bow. Like, you're supposed to do curtain call. I thought curtain call was free dance. So I was like, oh, this must just be a class that we're doing in front of people. So while everyone was trying to, like, we were trying to do a curtsy, I'm just off in the corner, like spinning, twirling around. It's just like kind of in my own world. A true Pisces from day one. An artist from day one. So I was just doing my own thing. And I think that definitely set the tone for probably the rest of my life because I think I've always kind of done my own thing. Yeah. But that was a core memory. When people ask me about like what my first memory of a performance, it was that I didn't know what a curtain call was and I just wanted to do free dance. So
I think that's a through line.
Yeah.
Like from 6 to 26, honey. You're doing free dances.
Sometimes it's not about the curtain call. Like it's just about your free dance. Like
I'm obsessed. So you were dancing, you were singing, you were like at a young age, or when did that like kind of start to develop?
I'm trying to figure out when the singing entered my life, and I to be honest, I don't really remember. I maybe it was like something I really honed and developed in like a past lifetime or something. Yeah, because I don't even I do believe that. I do believe we have these past lives. And maybe that's like, because I don't ever remember a time where I wasn't singing, and I don't ever remember it. Like it always came so naturally to me. Like I never, of course I would train and I would go to choir and take classes and practice a lot.
Yeah.
Practice a lot. But it never was something that I had to like struggle for. I think it was God-given. I know it's God-given.
Yeah.
It just is something that flows out of me, and it's very, very natural for me, and I've never really questioned it. So I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I don't know when it started. I just remember that I had it, and in school, the first outlet for that was joining choir. So I would join choir,
Right.
and I went to Catholic school my whole life. So that meant like singing in church. And that, of course, allows you to take on a more classical bent to things. So then I just started singing classical music, like opera, and there was a couple times in my life.
Very particular though, like not like that, right? Like that is a very particular God-given skill to sing opera.
I guess it is kind of random. I never really questioned it because again,
I know, but like
I'm like, oh, this is just like it. Like
we all pretend, but you could actually do it. Yeah, that's amazing. So at like what? 12, 13, you're like, I'm gonna do class.
Yeah, I think it was around that time.
Wow.
It was around that time, and I remember I was like early teens trying to figure out where to go to high school, and it was either go to Catholic private all girls school, or go to like the arts high school.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go to the arts high school, I need to audition, and I need to audition for the classical voice program. So around like 12, 13, I started learning arias, and I started developing that part of my voice so I could audition and go to the performing arts school. And then I ended up getting in, but I decided to go the more academic route instead. And I'm super glad that I did.
Yeah.
And then I just continued that all throughout high school.
Wow.
And it just, I dedicated my time to it. And then just one thing led to the next. Yeah.
That's incredible that like, because I think it's a very particular choice for a young person to be like, I am going to do opera and like, I'm going to train this classical arts, you know?
Yeah.
Were there any muses that you were like, I want to be like Leontine Price. I want to be like Maria Callas.
Oh my gosh,
like,
all of the above. Yeah, definitely. I think some of my muses where I'm super influenced by like golden age Broadway singers, jazz singers.
Ooh, yeah.
And I listen to, and also like R&B divas. Like I think my biggest inspirations were like, okay, there's a singer in musical theater, Audra McDonald, and she's we love Audra McDonald.
Yeah.
She was probably my biggest vocal muse because she would meld like the theatrical with her classical training. She's like a Juilliard trained vocalist, and she was just the gold standard for me. And then like Barbara Streisand, Barbara Cook, Ella Fitzgerald, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, anyone at 80s, 90s, early 2000s R&B as well is like such a muse for me. So all those vocal styles, all these like powerful women are such inspirations to me. And then, but definitely Audra McDonald. And of course, Cynthia Erivo. Even like Ariana Grande is like someone that is so inspirational to me. Like she was a theater girl. She's always been a theater girl. And
she's definitely a theater girl.
Yeah. So all these women powerhouses. I mean, seeing Wicked also is like a huge moment for me because that is like what I think I saw Wicked when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and that's what made me like be like, okay, I'm gonna keep singing, I'm gonna keep doing this. Like I want to be Alpha Bo one day. Like,
have you ever performed like the Wicked production in it and been in it? And like I don't know if they did it at Yale or they like.
No, I mean I've sung songs from it here and there. Of course, I mean I could probably sing the whole. The whole show from beginning to end, but no, I've never been in it. One day though, manifesting somehow.
No, I think it's.
We're putting it out there. We're putting it out there. That was my dream. Yeah.
Okay.
My dream. My dream.
Well, I did not hear you perform "Defying Gravity" at Mambo Italiano. And you listen.
I did.
You performed "Defying Gravity" at Mambo Italiano, Palm Heights in December. I didn't come down for like a couple days later. Would you give us a few bars? You don't have to sing the whole. You don't have to sing the whole song. You don't have to
sing Gravity.
Or it doesn't have to be "Defying Gravity." It could be some other, or it could be an opera song that like that you love.
I feel like we're playing that game like they do on the late night show where the stars have to like sing a song on the spot.
Oh, right. Like sing this in like gospel.
In like this style.
Like, yes, I need a drum beat. Like if you want to share.
Okay, yeah, what do we want to, I could do an opera, I could do like a jazz, I could do a classic musical theater, we could do Defying Gravity.
Like beating out of my chest. I'm so excited.
Okay, but
I know I'm about to get goosebumps. let's give the dolls some opera.
Okay. I'll do like okay, this song is from, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but whatever, I'm gonna do it because it just popped into my head. So this is called Good Night, My Someone, and it's from The Music Man. And it's from one of my favorite musicals ever, and I played this role when I was like 17. Like I played it my senior year of high school, so I don't know why it's popping in my head. Okay, so
Go off.
it's a beautiful song. Shout out to Barbara Cook, who originated the role. Good night, my someone. Good night, my love. Sleep tight, my someone. Sleep tight, my love. Our star is shining, its brightest light. So good night, my someone. Good night. It's my favorite song.
Period. Yes.
I don't know why that one popped in my head. I mean, I haven't done that one in so long. But we
The
love it.
clarity. The clarity.
Thank you.
You know, actually, this is so. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was.
This a little something. I was like, this probably
That's like
represents
a
all the things I
boosh.
like to do. Yeah. A boosh.
This is like that. That's light work.
Thank you.
That's amazing to know that you have so many dualities, and I think this is a really great. You're a really great example of that, of just having so many layers, right? Like you're an opera singer. You were also pre-med. We'll get into that. Then obviously you did pole dance. Was there ever a time where you felt like, oh, I'm a little lost because I don't know how to combine all of these talents, all these like beautiful God-given talents, or like no?
I mean, I definitely still feel that.
Do
like,
you?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, every day I'm like, okay, thinking about, okay, I'm put on this earth for a reason. Like, what is it? Like, how do I live at the highest potential? How do I use everything that God gave me, all these skills with people or talents or art or creativity? Like, how do I actually synthesize that in a way that's meaningful? Oh my gosh, one of my favorite quotes of all time is like an interview from John Kander and Fred Ebb. They wrote a lot of Broadway musicals. And there's an interview, I don't even remember the date. I just remember reading it like in my formative years. I must have been like 15 or 16 when I read this interview. And they say, innovators are usually synthesizers. They take what they know and they put it together and out comes something new. And that's ultimately what you call innovation. And I think they were talking about it in context of like,
innovators are synthesizers.
yeah, I think it was in the context, I remember now. It was in context of like, they were like Hamilton, the Broadway musical was like it was like 2016. It had just come out and it was like crazy that there was a hip hop musical about like the founding fathers of America, which is tea.
Yeah,
like that's actually insane. But yeah, they were talking about it in that like, oh, this is innovative because it is a form of synthesis. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda just took the things that he was really, really passionate about and put them together and out came something new. So when I read that, I still think about that quote all the time. Like, okay, maybe we're just put on this earth to like think about the things that really make us happy and that we're really passionate about. And we can't even explain why. Like even with singing classical music, like, I love it. And I don't even know why. I have actually no reason why. I genuinely love it so much. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm here to just figure out how I can put everything together and put something new into the world that has not been created before. And that's enough to get me through the day. So
I feel like you're on your way.
Thank you.
You are a synthesizer.
Thank you.
For fucking sure. Because then, but you didn't, so you did performing arts all through high school, but you wound up at Yale and you were pre-med. You were a woman in STEM.
I was a woman in STEM. Baddie in STEM, you know the vibes.
Did you want to be a doctor from the Baddie in STEM? A Baddie in STEM.
A Baddie in STEM. Yeah, I'm still her.
Yeah.
I mean, she still exists within me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really trying to think. So in high school, all I really cared about was school. I think I was just such a late bloomer and everything else, which is honestly what I have no regrets. I have no regrets on how I lived my life ages 14 to 18.
Yeah.
I think it set me up to have a great life now. I focused so hard in school. Also, like, I just knew that, like, my parents and all the women and the generations that came before me, like, set me up to have, like, no excuse to fail. I I was so privileged and so grateful to be in the space that I was. Like I had 2 parents that supported my education, that went out of their way to help me get the best education that I could, that like poured into me to make sure that I had all the options available to me. Like what like this is like, it's deeper than just me. Like I felt like I was there to represent all the things that the women in generations before me couldn't do. So like, I'm like, dang, this is, I don't think I realized that maybe at the time, but I'm like, dang, like I have this opportunity to do the best that I can. So I should really take advantage of it. So that I really focused on school. When I was in high school, I focused on high school. I focused on my classes. I focused on, just doing the best that I could, because I did not want to take that lightly. And
I sense that.
I just was like, dang, I gotta do this right.
No, I could sense it just from meeting you. I was just like, I was like, this is a woman who, like, since she was really young, was just like driven. And you were focused.
I was focused, especially like in those formative years. I mean, I think one of my favorite courses that I took in high school was honestly like biology. And I think what I liked about it now is like biology, and especially even math. I would not ever consider myself like a like I had a pre-inclination to any of those subjects, but I think I just genuinely enjoyed working so hard, like really immersing myself in the subject and seeing that like, wow, I could learn something new from this and like find ways to make it fun. I think one of the things I really loved about biology was like, I just really loved like mastering the material, and I actually loved like tutoring. Like I loved tutoring.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. Like I just really liked like ingesting the information and finding ways to make it cute, fun, and flirty for maybe other people who didn't like understand it that readily.
Right.
And I just had so much fun doing that. Like I would literally just be learning. Oh my God, I was crazy. Like I think one of my like at my final project for like my AP Bio class in junior year of high school.
AP Bio.
It was AP Bio class in junior year of high school, and like we had to turn in a creative project, like about something we learned in the class. So I like stayed up all night recording like this album. It was like Destiny's Child covers, but I made it like about like cellular respiration and like the Krebs cycle, and I like and then I would.
Oh, so you were singing the song?
I sang the song. I would like rewrote the lyrics all about like these like cellular processes, and like I turned that in, like just because like I would come up with these little songs to teach the people that I was tutoring. So like I just
I need that.
Oh my God, I should dig it up.
If you release this, please.
I should release it
because I was never a science girl. I was always liberal arts. I was never
I thought that was me too until, I don't know, I just committed to the bit, I guess.
You were literally creating Grammy probably nominated songs about
I was
cellular
my
biology.
Vocals, just trying to do it.
Prodigy.
It felt fun in the moment. It was fun. I had a good time.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, that was high school, and then when I went to Yale, I just was like, I'm here. Yes, it was giving synthesis. And like when I went to Yale, I just naturally kept studying that because it was something that was really of interest to me. And then I also had the opportunity to like continue pursuing music at a really high level. So like when you're an undergraduate there, you have the option to like audition to be placed into like a graduate studio for whatever your discipline is. So that's what I went into was doing classical voice. Yeah. And I just kept doing it. And then there was a certain point where, again, it was very natural. I just was like, I had actually completed most of my MCDB.
I love you.
It's called Molecular Cellular Developmental Biology is like the major at Yale. And I had completed most of it. Like I'd done like the prerequisites. I'd done all the like chemistry, biology, whatever classes. Like I had completed most of it. And then around like my junior, it was probably around my junior year because that's when you really have to decide. I just found myself like, I was just phoning it in, like bare minimum. And I'm not really, that was just, I didn't like the way that felt. And I'm like, okay, I need to analyze why I'm feeling this way. Like, why am I like sitting in chemistry class daydreaming about like giving my all to rehearsal later? Like, maybe I actually need to adjust my priorities.
No, I feel that.
So that's what happened.
So you just pivoted, and like, was that a hard decision for you to like give up all of those credits and just like maybe your family was like, Cami's going to be a Yale graduate and a doctor. Like, did you have to give up any of that or no?
Of course that is like, you feel like you're mourning a past self. Like maybe there was like a teenage version of myself that wanted this specific degree from this place and it needed to represent all these things. But then if you really think about, like, if I really look at like the coursework that I did and the experience I had, I mean, when you go, and you know this also going to like a liberal arts school, like when you go and you major in something, like you're not just studying that thing, you actually are studying like 10 million other things.
Yeah.
And now at this point in my life, I realize like the most fruitful thing, of course, I learned so much in my classes and I'm so grateful for the education I had. But I think the most fruitful thing that I gained from Yale at this point in my life is like my connections and my network and my friendships.
I love that.
And that's what lives with me the most.
Yeah.
And also learned how to think and how to write better and all these things. But I feel like I learned so much more than what I could learn just like, you know, doing equations and tinkering in a lab. Like, of course, those things are valuable and the work ethic I gained is valuable. But I'm like, oh no, like there's so much more to life than your degree that's on a piece of paper.
Yes.
So much more. And people don't, like, it doesn't even really matter anymore. So
no,
why would I stress about it? It doesn't really matter.
We were talking about this before. It was like, it's important, but it's not, like, at a certain point, it doesn't become part of your identity. Obviously, as you move on and you achieve things in your own name, like, and you're on your own path, it doesn't, it's like, I went there.
Yeah, I went there. And it was an important part of my personal trajectory, but it does not define me. It does not define me.
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. Yeah. But I mean, I think what was interesting, though, while you were there, you changed to performance. You were going to like go off, I'm assuming, to Broadway, or at least and like to Hollywood. And you were like, this is it. But you were one of the very, I hate this for that generation of kids who were stuck in college and COVID.
I know. It was a very fragmented time. I mean, I feel like I was so blessed in a way because I had a completely normal, amazing college experience up until 2020. Like, I was set to graduate in 2020. What did happen to me, though, was when I had decided to really focus on, like, performance studies as my major, I had spent all this whole year, like I got a fellowship, I got a grant to go to Mexico and do research. Wow. I wrote a show it was like a biographical piece about Frida Kahlo. And that was meant to be like my thesis project. I love her so much. And that was supposed to happen in like April 2020. And then it never happened. So I just felt like it was like the pandemic hitting. I like didn't go back to campus ever to like finish things up.
Really?
We had to finish on Zoom. Like, I had worked so hard and changed all these things about my courses so that I could have this thesis project and get it funded, and then that didn't happen. So it was just like loss after loss after loss. It was like, oh my God, such a weird, uncertain time. And I don't know. I feel like that chapter never had a solid like finish.
That's interesting.
So it just feels like when I think about like my college experience, like, oh my God, it was amazing and all these things and represented so many dreams coming true for me, but it never really had a ending in the way that any of us would have liked it to.
Like, you're walking through of the green and like with all whatever 1,000 of your classmates, it's like it's not the same thing.
Yeah, you know, you kind of want that iconic experience.
You do.
And we did have like in 2022 we ended up doing a walk, but it was it wasn't quite the same. Like, we were all, you know, it was 2 years post grad. A lot of us were just had our full-time jobs at that point. And so the energy was a bit different. I'm still so grateful that we had that experience. But it was a remarkable time to live through.
I feel like almost like disassociated with that time.
Yeah.
It just feels like the time jump scares living shit out of me. But like in that time, you really went full throttle with pole. Like, it was like from April 20 or the beginning of 2019 or something like that.
I had taken a few classes. Yeah. There was a pole studio in New Haven near where Yale is. And it was actually for fun. I was a member of the circus club. Yeah. I'm sorry. You're like, what? Not another hobby. I was in the circus club.
When I was learning that, I was like, what does that mean exactly? When you're a part of the circus club in college.
I can explain.
Yeah. Tell me, girl. Tell me.
Okay, so one of my best friends at the time, you know, being in the music scene at Yale, one of my best friends and most frequent collaborator, they would write these amazing shows and pieces of music, and I would sing them. We became best friends, and they were in the circus club. They did like aerial silks and hoop and all this stuff. And one day I just went to go see what they were practicing, and I'm like, that looks so cool. I think that I want to learn how to try and do that. Yeah. So then I started to learn some of the skills on the aerial apparatuses. Yeah. And yeah, then the next year I joined the circus club, and I just I loved it. It was so fun.
I like you saying circus club
circus
because
club.
I think when we think of circus, we think of like a ringmaster and like that's what I was thinking. I was like,
circus club.
I'm at the circus club, but you're saying it was more like an aerial art.
Well, it was called actually the Yale Aerial and Circus Arts Collective.
Okay.
Yes, so Yale Aerial Circus Arts Collective, YACAC. YACAC. Yeah. So that kind of that was like me dipping my toe into the aerial performance world.
Okay.
And then the only place you could really train those apparatuses outside the circus club was this aerial pole fitness studio called Pole Fly off campus. So I would always walk in there and I would see the poles, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not sexy enough to do that. Like, I'm not hot enough to do that. Like, hell no, I'm way too scared.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
we'll
it was a journey, but like
we got to talk about I was like,
it was a journey. Like, I just was very intimidated by that.
Right.
And then I think like my senior year, I was just like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna just go for it. So I started taking classes, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. But of course, I was still really dedicated to like finishing out college, so I couldn't dedicate a ton of time to learning pole until the pandemic hit, and I was just stuck at home. So that was the gradual pathway that led me to pole.
That's so interesting to me that you didn't think that you were sexy enough to do it, which is so wild.
Oh my God, sometimes I still feel that way.
What?
I can't lie.
No way.
You just have to commit to the bit a little. Like, you know, like it's just committing to
you
the
are
bit.
totally committed to the bit.
You're committed to the bit.
But it's like, because you are obviously talented enough to do it and learn it and master such a huge skill.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's wild to know about those like earlier misgivings, right?
Yeah.
Like, and how you kind of work through them, obviously.
Yes. And I think we all experience that, especially in the beginning of the pole journey. I remember like when I would go to class, I used to wear like really long biker shorts, and like I would just try and cover my whole body. Like I just didn't really feel comfortable showing it off. I also just think in the first part of my life, I found my value in like my intellect or like working really hard in school and being valued for like more academic pursuits, or just like how I was able to like use my mind. And I never really took the time to figure out what it meant to be in my body.
Right.
I would do like, I was, I loved yoga, I loved movement, but I think like pole really forced me to like face my perception of my body and like, am I okay with that being perceived as part of who I am? And so that was like a deeper challenge that takes time to settle. It takes time to settle into that. Yeah. So I was like probably a little bit late bloomer for that. I feel like maybe now I'm like more confident in that area of my life.
Yes.
But
you walk into a room, girl, and you're like felt. Your presence is felt. Yeah. But I get that. Like it's so hard sometimes to accept our forms. Yeah. And like for whatever reasons they might be societal, they may be familial, like whatever pressures we think we might not fitting a particular mold or whatnot. And I'm just wondering, like, were there any women that you looked up to? Because I think that's also really important. If you see a woman who looks like you doing the thing you want to do, you're like, I'm more readily, like, I see myself in that.
Okay, yes, this is huge because I also feel like, at least like when I would follow women on Instagram as like muses for my pole dancing journey, I would see a lot of different body types, but I don't think I ever saw a lot of my specific body type. I'm shorter, I've got curves. I don't have a super long, lean build like a lot of the dancers that I saw, which again, they're beautiful, but I just didn't see myself in that. So I actually get a lot of my inspiration for like body art from like classical art references and just like the women that you see in Renaissance sculptures or the angels that you see on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And I think it's also such a reminder that beauty standards will change and change, and then they'll change again. Yes. And depending on like what decade, what century you happen to be born into, the beauty standard, especially for women, is going to shapeshift so rapidly like so much. Like even if you look at like in the Stone Age, like like one of the like the relics,
Yes.
the Stone Age relic of like you know the Venus of Willendorf, like the fertility sculpture.
Yes, exactly.
So again, like there's a lot of speculation about what the meaning of this sculpture is, but it's like surmised widely that it's like a fertility goddess.
Right.
And like this was like the apex of like beauty and fertility and womanhood. And it's just like a very round, voluptuous woman with accentuated voluptuous features.
Yeah.
And like it's crazy to think that there was a point in human evolution and consciousness where that was like the prized beauty standard.
Right.
And it's just always going to change.
Always.
So like I just look to the art that I see myself or like my body type represented in. I think another muse that I really admire is of course like Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
And I think that she's someone for me that embodies such a beautiful balance of like her femininity and her masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like just a gorgeous balance between the two in the way she dresses herself and expresses herself. So she's always been a muse of mine. But yeah, I think like, yeah, looking to like classical art references and even just like following creators or models or muses that again make me feel good. Like, oh my gosh, I just watched Paloma's Architectural Digest house tour.
Yeah.
And she is someone who's like so fabulous and inspirational to me in the way she carries herself. And also just like, oh my gosh, her house. That was a stunning. That's just fresh on my mind.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
But I'm like, oh yeah, she is someone like that I definitely resonate with. And also like she's such a talented writer and I've loved like so much of the writing she's contributed to various publications. So like, yeah, just following people like that I feel like inspired by is important.
And it helped you kind of get even more comfortable in the pole.
Yes.
Because you mastered it.
Thank you. I think I'm still on that journey.
I'm like, I know you have very like, you have very high standards, but I feel like, so back to like synthesizing. Mm-hmm. So you synthesize your love of pole because you were becoming more confident with this kind of very intellectual approach to body acceptance and just performance. I feel like it's very, very cerebral. The synthesizes in this moment where you literally go viral. For your graduation announcement, you're spinning in a cap and gown.
Yeah.
Just walk us through that moment like a little bit because that's how I came to know about you as well. And I like started following you all the way back then in 2020.
God, that's so crazy.
Based off of that moment.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. I was like, oh shit. Like it was such a moment. And I think in movement at a time when like so few people were like we needed movement.
Yeah.
Just talk me through that.
Talk me through that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk through kind of what was going through my mind in that moment, and then I think like generally what it represents.
Yeah.
First, I kind of want to go way back and also talk about just like the history of pole dance and also like the type of dance that exists on my page because like the pole dance that I share, that you see dancers share on Instagram, that pervades so much of like popular culture, really does have roots in the strip club. And it originated from strippers and sex workers that paved the way for the movement to exist as it does now. And of course, there's so many different ways to pole dance. There's so many different aesthetics and styles and ways that you can move your body. You can discover your own ways and your own unique pathway of movement. But like, honestly, wearing the heels and dancing in a tiny, sexy outfit, like that comes from the club. And so I think that I know that there's definitely this conversation in the pole community where pole dancers will try to like separate themselves from stripping and say, like, oh, I'm not a stripper. I would never do that, which that's actually illogical. That doesn't even make sense because it's like, actually, no, what you're doing literally cannot and would not exist without the aesthetic and just the existence of the strip club. So like that kind of falsifies that argument. And also it's just like so important to like not create a divide between these two forms and actually just unite them because like one like cannot exist without the other that paved the way. So I just want to like lay that down before because I think that also plays into like a lot of people's perceptions of what I do and what any pole dancer who practices pole dancing, whether they strip or not, like it does exist from that world. So we can't separate the two. So I always encourage people, whether it's like you want to try pole dancing or just even if you just want to learn it as a hobby, like know its historical roots and its context and know what gave rise to it as we practice it today. So,
well, I have a question about that because I think that's very, very important because as I was researching you, I was like, oh, so what is the differentiation between a pole dancer and a stripper? And like, and like, how do people justify that, and not justify it, but define it in their minds, and like, because I think to your point, it's like there are people who may say, oh, I would never do that. But as you're saying, it's like deeply embedded in
Yeah, I think that's like an individual like journey that you need to discover for yourself. But it's like, okay, if you want to like dissociate yourself from a form that originated in the circle, I think you need to ask yourself why.
Right.
Like, why? Like, and think about like, what have you internalized that's causing you to believe this? And you need to work on that.
Right.
Before, I would honestly invite anyone, before you think about even starting pole dance journey, like I think before, you need to start thinking about like, okay, what have I internalized? Any preconceived notions about this? How do I feel about like it having origins in the strip club? And just really think about unpacking that, and like how you can honor its roots, and not, and if you're participating in pole dancing, how can you always work to like recognize and honor that? So that's just an important part of the discussion.
No, I agree.
In pole dancing as a whole, because I sometimes I'll hear people say like, oh, I just want to pole dance for fun. I would never do it. I would never strip. And I say, okay, well, why? Why do you hold that belief? Why do you hold that belief? Like, where does that come from? And what stigma, what preconceived notions are you holding?
Yeah.
So I think that's such an important part of the discussion. So I just wanted to bring that up.
No, I think
it was on my mind. Yeah.
No, it's super important. It's super important. And I was researching. I was like, well, yeah. But so as we like lay that foundation, you yourself had probably reconciled with that as well.
Yeah. And I think that I think when that video had come out, because that was like a day or two. I think I graduated like May 16th or 15th or something like that. Okay. And then my cap and gown got shipped to me in the mail like a day later. And I was like, oh my God, this sucks. Like, I didn't even get my cap and gown for my actual graduation day. And so then I was just like, I think it would be funny if I just posted a little video of me. Like, because I didn't even post anything that I had graduated, and I wanted to do a post. But I was like, I'm really into pole dancing right now. Like, why don't I just post this video? And I think at that time, my account was like private. Like, I just posted it, and people were like, oh, this is funny. I want to share it. I want to send it to my friend who graduated. Can you just take your account off private? I was like, at this point, I don't like, this is how I'm spending my time. Like, yeah, of course, I'll take my account off private. Like, I love what I'm doing. Like, I love this. This is the best day ever. So then, from there, that video started getting sent, and it started just going viral. And then, then and I think it was like a moment where, like, that time, especially like May 2020, no one knew what the hell was happening in our world. It's so true. That video was like almost like a bit of like surrealism. Like, I feel like it was like funny and it was bittersweet, but everyone was graduating into like a non-existent job economy. Like, everyone was in their home doing something. So I was just in my home twirling around in the living room. So I think it just hit at the right time, like when it needed to. I didn't really know. I honestly just posted it thinking it was a silly video, and I didn't know that video would change my life a lot.
Yeah. But it also, and it kind of, it challenges certain notions of respectability, which we were talking about just previously.
Yes, exactly. And okay, that's why I brought up the video, because I think like at that time, so many women who like were strippers at the time reached out to me, or like who had worked at a club at some point in their life and were like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of like when I was, finishing my nursing degree and like working the club to pay it off. And like, it just is representative of like so many things can be true at once.
Yeah.
Like, you can be as contradictory or not as you want to be, but like all these different facets of your personality can coexist at once, and you can synthesize. Like, all these things can be true at once, and you should celebrate them, because that's what makes you you, and that's what makes your journey uniquely yours. And I think that we should all celebrate that.
I completely agree. I feel like, didn't Summer Walker come up that way too?
Oh yeah, I know she did work in clubs. Mm-hmm. I know she was also like working cleaning houses. Like, she's also always been working.
Yeah. But it's like, to that end, it's like, this is a way for women. It's just a strong connection between women, the pole, and I think education. I don't know. Like, there really is. It's like, it's very interesting how that is. you know, because I think also this is a field where women can make a lot of money, and disproportionately there aren't a lot of fields where women can.
Yeah.
So that I think that also is very interesting to observe.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
You then kind of segue this into a business. So when did you
Yes.
realize that you could monetize your creative passion? I think that that's like something that's very big for creatives.
Right. Oh my gosh. It is such a it's a complex topic, but
Right.
it's not as complex as it is also simple. Like, okay, how do I explain what happened really? So at the time, again, this is all around like April, May 2020. At the time that video that I had posted that video, it was pandemic, peak pandemic, no fitness studios, anything were open. I was for fun, one of my student jobs was like I would teach yoga on campus.
Okay.
I like different, residential halls, residential colleges, we called them at Yale. And I would just log on every day on Instagram Live at like the same time. And I would just like teach a yoga class. And the numbers kind of started growing on there. Like I'd have like 20 people join. I'd have like 60. They would share with a friend. I'd have like 100 people join. And I'm like, oh my God, a lot of people are joining for Instagram Live yoga. This is cool. Then people started requesting things. They wanted to learn headstands and splits and whatever. And I was like, okay, it's getting a lot. Like, let me think about like organizing this. So I was like, okay, let me just organize like a little curriculum, like, and then maybe I can like have people join in. So I literally was like, I remember this day I was like sitting, my aunt let me set up her pole in her house. So I didn't.
Shout out to Auntie.
Shout out to Auntie. Honestly,
what's your auntie's name?
Her name's Lisa. I call her Lily.
Auntie Lisa.
Auntie
I had
Lisa.
I had an Auntie Lisa too.
Oh my God, shout out to the Auntie Lisa.
No, I was like seriously.
That's really cool.
I love that your aunt was like a really big cheerleader for you.
She was, because like honestly, if she hadn't let me put up that pole in her house, I don't know if the video I wouldn't have gotten good at pole. I don't know. Like,
that's amazing.
She let me put the pole up in her house. So I always give so much thanks and gratitude to her, because that really changed everything. But I remember I was like sitting on her couch and I was like kind of just talking with her. I was like, what should I do? I don't have any money. I have no job right now.
Yeah.
Like, should I, this is what she said. She said, Cami, activate. Just activate. And that really stuck with me, because sometimes you just, doing something is better than doing nothing. Sometimes you just have to get out there and do something. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Now you know it doesn't work. And if it works, that's great. You can keep going. Yeah. But activate. Do something. Doing something is better than nothing. And I think I also learned this. There was one class I took at Yale. It was called Daily Themes. And you had to just, the only way to get an A in a class is like, you'd have to write 150 words every day and just turn it in. And it would be on these like specific prompts or topics. But it's like, it was really reinforced this concept of like, do something. Right. Like, even if you hate it, that's fine. You're allowed to be bad at it. You're allowed to mess up. You're allowed to make mistakes. But how are you even going to get there if you're not doing anything?
We don't allow ourselves enough freedom to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like a perfectionist, recovering perfectionist, like the fear of failure or the fear of putting out something subpar is like so paralyzing that you don't even do anything at all. So when my aunt said just activate, it doesn't need to be perfect, just do it. Just launch a course, whatever. So that's exactly what I did. I was like, went on Instagram, created an account that day, called it MBS Collective, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to call it like Yoga with Cami. I was just like, I want something with like some letters. I want to make a cool logo one day. So let me just do some letters and it can be sexy and cool and whatever. MBSC, I was like, I like that. Like, I think it's some letters and it's strong and whatever. And I just made the Instagram and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, okay, guys, course, 2-week course. 2-week course. There's a group chat. You're gonna get access to all these live classes. I'll check in on you every day. Invite a friend, get a discount. And I was like, I'm gonna sell it for $40, like just $40 for the course. And I was like, dude, even if 10 people sign up, I'm like, that's $400. That's more money than I've ever made at once. I was just like, I will be rich. Okay. Then I think like,
I love that
50 or 60 people signed up. 80 to 100 people signed up. I was just shocked. Like I couldn't believe that like this I activated and then and then people actually signed up and it was actually like really fun. Like I actually really loved doing it, and I loved, again, it was like back in high school how I loved tutoring. I was just about to say, I was like, this is where yes, it all came in. Now I'm realizing it's like really aligned with what I'm doing now, because I just love it when someone comes in thinking like having a preconceived notion about their skill set.
I can't do something.
Yes, and then just transforming that and be like, actually, yes, you can. Like, you got this. And so then that space just kept growing. I kept offering the courses. I kept doing classes every day. It kept growing.
Was it a physical space or it was still online?
It was all online.
Okay.
It's actually been like kind of entirely online. I'll do pop-ups, like I'll travel to different cities and do workshops and I'll host retreats.
Right.
But I've really just maintained it online.
That's amazing.
Which is really, really a blessing. And it really could have only been birthed during that time of the pandemic.
Think so too. There's some things that are only like COVID related that like it existed within that time.
Exactly.
Because there was a shift.
There was a shift in like
some portal.
Yeah, exactly. It was that. And yeah, I just kept doing that. I just kept activating after that. I just kept little by little. It wasn't perfect. There was a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of things I needed to learn. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta learn how to build a website. I gotta learn how to do this. I gotta stop accepting payments on Venmo. Like people, I was accepting enrollments on Venmo for like a few months, honestly. But that's what I'm saying.
That's
I was like, let me just start with the resources and tools that I know that I have available to me.
Exactly.
That will work. And then when I outgrow those, I'll figure it out. Like, and I did. And I still am figuring things out. So
it's a WIP, even though from my perspective, I'm practicing everybody it's like you're doing it.
Right. Everyone thinks of it. Inside you're just like, oh no, I'm just researching, practicing every day. Yeah.
You have a Virgo moon. Like I do.
Oh, you do?
That Virgo moon will be like, bitch, please.
You know.
Like, no.
You know, the Virgo moon keeps you on it.
Oh, it's like, it's wild. The way it's like, you have got to get it together. And you're just like, okay. And you're constantly bettering yourself and constantly going for it. It's wild. Mm-hmm. Did your classes, is that how you connected with SZA? And like, or was that just like another thing that only would have happened during COVID?
Honestly, when I tell you that just came out of the ether, I have no idea. Like, I love her so much. Like, if there's any artist that I'd ever want to collaborate with in my whole life, like it's definitely SZA. Like, I think since 2017, 2018, since Control came out, she's always my number one artist. Yeah. Every single year. I love her so much. And so I felt like I was just subconsciously manifesting some sort of collaboration with her like my whole life. I just love her so much. I love everything about her. And yeah, I just noticed one day that she had followed me on Instagram and I thought that was crazy. I'm like, how did she even find me? I was like, this can't be real. Like, how did she even find me? I don't even know what. Right. And then one day she was always so supportive. If I posted something to one of her songs, she would share it. Yeah. So supportive, like a supportive queen. I love her. And yeah, one day she just DM'd me. She just sent me a voice message. It was a voice message. I was like, oh my God, is this really her voice?
I love she sent you a voice message.
She sent me a voice memo.
I love a voice memo.
She sent me a voice memo. And then,
Period.
And the rest is history. And I think that was like, yeah, it was like early 2021. She was like, hey, queen, we're shooting the music video for Good Days. And I was like, I love that song. Yeah. And she's like, we're shooting the video for Good Days this week. I was wondering if you could like tutor me. I want to dance in the video. I was like, what?
You taught her that in a week?
Yeah, in like 3 days.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
She's amazing. She learned it so quick. I mean, she's an amazing mover and so strong. So yeah, that still feels so surreal to me because like, of all the artists ever, like she means so much to me. So that was just such a huge like affirmation to have that exchange. But yeah, it was literally just through Instagram. Just
the power of Instagram.
The power of Instagram. I mean, I always joke. It's not a joke, but it's like it's a LinkedIn for creative people.
It is.
It's like it's a LinkedIn. It's your digital museum curation of all the things that you like. That your work. It's you. You know, it's a valuable tool.
How did that crack open your artistry and your teaching? Like, because I feel like 3 days with one person, but it's a beautiful performance. It looks like she's been doing it for years.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it just definitely was like an affirming moment. And I think, of course, like at that moment, it raised more awareness about the things that I was offering and what I was doing already. So it just, helped raise visibility for me a little bit more. And that was really important, really big. Yeah. And I kept on carrying on after that and just continued growing. Right. Continued activating. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you love the most about choreography and figuring out like how to move your body and to like try new tricks and learning all of them?
Oh my God, there's so much. It's so funny because like I anytime I was in like a show or something, like in like when I was like performing a lot and doing theater and shows and stuff like that, like choreography was really never my strong suit. In fact,
Really?
dancing was like never my strong suit. Like
That's so interesting.
it never was. Like, to be honest, even I remember one year, like I auditioned for the dance group at Yale, like the dance group, and I got rejected. Like I didn't even make it in. Like I didn't even make it. Like I did it. I had no skills. Like I had to be there.
That's so wild.
And to end up in this, yeah. So it's just like, it's random. But I don't even like. I think what's great about pole dance is that you can really unlock it and discover what your flow is and what your style is at your own pace in a way that's individual to you. So like when I teach, that's really all I care about. Like I'm like, okay, I don't want you to come out of this class trying to look like me or dance like me. I just want to create a safe container where you can figure out what it means to look like you when you dance. It's kind of like I like, you know how like when you see professional skateboarders, they all have their own steez. Like they have their own tricks that like they're really good at and that just fit the proportions of their body really well, and like they interact with the space around them really well. Like, I think pole is actually quite similar to that, because like there's some tricks that are super easy for me just because of the way that my body is and the way that they feel in my body that might be really hard for someone else, and vice versa. So I think that's really my favorite thing about it, is that it's so different for everyone. So it takes almost like any level of like competitiveness out of it. Like you can really just do your own free dance. Like coming back to the free dance, like it really is like the embodiment of like
you can do a little free dance.
You can do your own thing and celebrate that. Yeah,
that is really incredible. I need to take a class with you.
I got you, queen. Whenever.
Listen, I was supposed to do that over New Year's with you at Palm Heights, and I could never get my ass.
No, you're on vacation mode.
I really was, but I really want to learn, and I really want to like master that. Like that, because that.
I got you. Okay. You would kill it. I feel like
I really
would come in with a cute outfit. Your pole outfits would be so fire. That's what I want to see your styling pics.
When you said commit to the bit, I'm like, oh,
just commit to the bit.
I will come in like little shorts and little tank top and like do the damn thing.
And just get involved. Yes.
Let's talk about heels, because that for me is a huge source of fascination. I saw you in like posing in heels like this. Big. Were heels daunting for you at first, or were you like, I'm into this, like this is fun?
Definitely daunting at first.
Yeah.
I think, if you think about just like the nature of an 8-inch heel, like it can be dangerous. But there's so many dedicated like styles. Like there's a whole style of movement in pole called like edge work that just is all about the way that your heel interacts with the pole and the floor environment around you, and different ways that you move your ankle. Granted, I'm not really an expert in that style, but I have like taken some classes in it time and time again. So it's like the heels in so many forms of pole are like just a natural like apparatus extension of the body, like that that can stylize and inform your movement so much. And I think it also is like, so much of the way that you carry yourself is impacted by how you wear. I mean, you know this, what you wear. You know this as a fashion queen yourself. Like when you wear something or like dress yourself a certain way, it's like letting people into your personality a little bit without even saying anything. So when you wear heels, it's like a proclamation of that. Like, and some days I really want to dance in heels, and some days I really want to be barefoot. Right. And some days I want to wear sweatpants when I dance, and some days I want to wear a tiny bikini, and it just really depends. And there's a beautiful like fluidity that exists in like how you dress yourself when you want to pole dance.
I love that.
So yeah, the heels are a huge part of that.
They're a huge part of it, and I'm always just like fascinated by it, because I'm like, weebly wobbly. I love a heel, but I'm like, how do I create the balance? But I think because you start when you teach with people barefoot, and then they barefoot, obviously elevate into that.
Once you get them on though, it's not as hard as you think. It's not. They're pretty stable. They're comfortable. And when you're on the pole, you're going to spend a lot of your time up in the air spinning anyway. So you'll forget that heels. You'll forget you're attached. You'll forget that the 8-inch heels are on even. Yeah.
Do you like wear them around the house, like with socks to like break them in?
Actually, yeah. Sometimes you do gotta break them in. You do have to break them in sometimes, so a sock helps with that. But for the most part, no. You just put them on when it's go time, and you go.
And like, what's one of your favorite things? One of your favorite moves to do on the pole?
Ooh, I love, okay, so a lot of people don't know this, but the pole spins, but it also sometimes doesn't spin.
Okay.
So you can practice on static pole and you can practice on spin pole.
So when you're doing, okay, keep going.
Yeah, so if you see a lot of my videos, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's on spin pole.
Okay.
But I think really, I like to just make simple moves and shapes look like art. Again, like going back to that reference of angels on the Sistine Chapel, like that's what I like to channel when I'm up there.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just like a slow, fluid climb, get upside down, hang from a leg, and create pretty shapes from there. And I think like that's so simple, but it just feels so good and it feels like I'm flying, and you can create so many beautiful shapes from that. So I love the simple stuff, really.
I love that idea of flying.
Yeah, it feels like flying. It really is.
Like that's just so liberating.
It is. It's liberating. Like pole. I mean, it's so painful, but it also feels it feels so good.
Tell me about the pain, because I feel like when I see you, you look freaking flawless, perfect, whatever. But you're like, no, this is grit. This is strength. This is core.
Strength, and it's also like, okay, it's so funny because the past 2 weeks at Palm Heights, I was like teaching every day, and I would see my students like kind of walking around the spa area, and I would see new bruises pop up on their legs.
Oh, girl, yes.
And I would see like, I think by my last class, I was my friend Bailey, who she teaches Pilates there. Like she was showing me like her legs and bruises everywhere, and it reminded me of like, oh yeah, this is actually like a really hard thing to do. But then over time, like it's like just lesson of like you can do hard things. Like your nervous system will adjust. You'll eventually stop bruising. Things that were once extremely hard to you become easier. And I also just feel like, in zooming out a little bit, I think as adults, we become so risk averse. We are afraid to try new things because we're afraid to look dumb or silly. We're afraid to be bad at something. And it's like, well, we grant that liberty to little kids when they're learning new things because they don't care. Yeah. But as adults, we're risk averse. We just don't. We don't want to ever be in a situation where
we make the wrong decision, or we make the wrong
silly, or we feel uncomfortable. And I think pole is something that can help dismantle that idea a little bit, because bit by bit you see yourself like, okay, climbing used to be really hard for me, but now I know like I can have this growth, like abundance mindset about it and just focus on getting a little better every day. And then climbing leads to spinning, leads to going upside down, leads to making pretty shapes hanging from my leg. Like it just is like layer by layer, brick by brick, dismantling this idea of being like risk averse and being afraid to try new things. Because it's like, oh my God, you have one life. Like you should give yourself the permission and the liberty to try as many things as you want that are available to you to try. So it, at least in my adult life, like I think learning pole has like helped me reverse that part of my mind that was like perfectionist, risk averse.
Were you a perfectionist? Or you said you were recovering perfectionist earlier. I didn't know if that was
recovering perfectionist. I mean, I still think I am. Like I definitely, I feel like if before in my life I was like a type A plus. Yeah. Right now I'm like probably learning to be type A minus. Like
there's a lot of flow to you, which is that's why it's interesting to hear you say that you're a perfectionist, but there's a lot of like, I feel like flow to you and your success.
Yes, it is really about flow. Like, okay, there's another quote that I love that's like, life has no shape, it's just one thing after the next. And I'm like, that's actually so true. Like you can try and plan your life as much as you want. Yeah. But things like a pandemic can happen, or things like a wildfire like things will happen. And it's like, okay, whatever shape you thought your life would take, I think your resilience and success as a human relies in being able to adapt to what your environment presents you with. Yeah. And that goes back to basic like human evolution. Like, damn, like, we're just here to adapt to our environments. Like on a very basic level, like all life forms are here to adapt to our environments. And that's what allows life to go on. So I think like in this lifetime, I've just really tried to learn that. Like, okay, you're presented with an opportunity in your environment. Like, how can you adapt to it to the best way possible? And I think that's probably what the past few years of my life have been.
Absolutely.
Just adapting.
Is that why you love traveling so much?
Definitely. I love being on a plane.
Girl, you were very like, I have been on 9 continents. I'm like, okay,
my list. I know.
not 9 continents. You know what I mean?
It was
But, like,
I made new continents.
I know, like
I made up new
but you know what I mean. Yeah, you were like, this is something that's very important. To you. I can
Yes.
tell.
It is, and I feel like I feel so blessed to be in such a unique position where it's like, okay, I work for myself.
Yes.
My work actually benefits from me visiting new places and teaching or being of service to others in that way.
Yeah.
Like, I should take advantage of that, like, in every way possible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely starting in like 2023, I started traveling a lot. And then 2024, yeah, I kept a log of all the every time I was in an airport. I think I was in different airports, including layovers, like 47 times.
Oh, girl, you know you're in the Delta Club.
I got that Delta status.
You are TSA pre-check.
I was traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. Like, so grateful. So blessed for all these opportunities. So yeah, just really try to take advantage of it. And like, if I get an invitation or an opportunity to put myself in a new situation or visit somewhere new, why would I not take advantage of it?
No, of course. And you're young, you're free. Like there's a lot of it, which I think is really admirable to do, and not allow yourself to get boxed in.
Yes, exactly. Like I'm thinking, I'm like, well, these are the years of my life to do it. Like you said, I'm young, free, single. Like I have complete time, like control over my time.
Listen. Yeah. I agree. As Auntie, I say
thank you, Auntie. Affirmations from Auntie.
I say go with it until the wheels fall off, because you have your business. You're also constantly pushing yourself as an artist, which I really respect. I love all of your photography work. So that like you're constantly looking at yourself in different ways and different mediums. And you've talked a lot about how your work is not for the male gaze. It is for the female gaze.
Yes.
What do you want women to pick up on when we see your photography or we see you spinning and doing your thing?
Oh, you know what? Art is ultimately, any art form is just like what you see in the art is a reflection of what you are inside. Or what you kind of see things. You see things not as they are, but you see them as you are. So it's so interesting because people ask me all the time, like, oh, you must get like crazy DMs from men. Like, what are they saying? And I'm like, literally, actually, no. Like, I don't really get. I mean, of course, there's the occasional weird DM. Of course, like unavoidable, but it's like majority women. Like it's really majority women. Which I'm so grateful for. Because I really view the body as art. Like, and I've been thinking about it like quite deeply recently, especially as we're seeing all these, we're living in an extraordinary time technologically. Like we're watching AI just explode. And I feel like we're almost in this space with like AI where we were maybe in the internet, like the late 90s, early 2000s, where we knew it was going to be big, but we just didn't know how big it was going to be and how much it would revolutionize our existence. So as I'm here thinking about, okay, we have AI, we have like this new form of like artificial intelligence consciousness effectively arising, and we don't know how big it's going to be. But I'm like, okay, so then what really does differentiate us as humans from this artificial intelligence? And I'm like, for me, my take on it is like, we have a body.
Right.
We have a physical body that can feel things and create things, that is filtering input from our surroundings and crafting a unique experience based off of that. We can see things, smell things, touch, feel emotion. We can like feel the breeze on our face. We can like taste salt water in the ocean. Like we have this body that is this unique processing center for everything that the world has to offer. So like everything for me comes back to the body. So when I come to like making art, whether it's like posting a pole dance, making a visual art, making like a little collage of something, comparing my art to larger landscapes and nature, whatever it is, it really just comes back to like the body is art just by existing. And like the things that like all our bodies are so different. So that's something to celebrate. And that's something to continue exploring, like what that means for us individually. So it really just comes back to that for me.
No, I think that because you deal a lot with the golden ratio.
Yeah, yeah, Fibonacci sequence. Hell yeah. You know the vibes.
I was like, what? I was like, what? This is so interesting to me. Like to see that in that form, and for you to curve your body and to like shift your body into these shapes, and for you to be like to make that connection and that through line.
Right? Because it's like, I don't think, like, okay, also that's a way for me, like, I think like growing up, I got all the women in my family too, like that came before me, were curvy and had like these very bodacious figures, and I felt like I tried to like lessen that part of myself for such a long time, and then I'm like, actually no, this is fire, like this is hot, this is art, like I should embrace that. So when I would look at, like, you know, because before I post something I would just be editing, like saying like, okay, what picture do I want to post, what frame do I want to post, and I'm like, dang, that is like a nice curve, and I'm like, oh, I don't know when it clicked for me one day, but I was like, let me just make a silly little collage of like putting the golden ratio. And then I found in all my favorite shapes, subconsciously, I would seek out whatever shape had the most accurate expression of whatever this golden ratio was. So then it just became it became a bit. I just kept doing it. And then I'm like, I don't think that's a coincidence. That these natural patterns and parallels in nature that we're like subconsciously drawn to. And we see it in the body. We see it in the way like cactus flowers blossom. We see it in the way like galaxies form in the cosmos. Like there's a code to all of beauty.
No, absolutely.
And of course there is. So it's just a silly way of me honoring that.
I love it. I loved it when you did it it was like of the canyon. It was like,
oh
and
yeah.
you were like looking
up at the canyon.
And there was like a little on your butt.
Yeah,
it was, like, period. the canal.
Yeah, the cavern.
But I love that. I love that, like, you remain curious about your own body and how you, I don't know, how you are, like how you take up space.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about embodiment for you, because you're, like you were saying, you come from this long line of women who have curvy bodies, but you yourself were kind of like, I'm going to downplay this, or maybe not embrace it as much as you do now.
I think it's definitely still a journey. Again, it comes back to these fluctuating beauty standards. Like you can be here and the beauty standard can hit everywhere except what you are. So I think like one of the most radical things you can actually do is just recognize what you have and accept it. And I think what really allowed me to like think this way was, there's this book. Honestly, I talk about this book all the time. I talk about it in every class. It's The Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor.
Okay.
And the book covers a lot of ground, but basically in the book she talks about how we are brought up in systems that teach us to apologize for the body in whatever way. It's like, oh, you have a black or brown body, you're supposed to have shame for that. You have a fat body, you're supposed to have shame around that. Your body is disabled, that is another source of shame. And we're just brought up in, again, all these systems that like oppress what the body is and what it can be, and that we are taught to have like, again, shame or like apologize for that. And so the book talks about like actually you just existing in your body and not apologizing for it is a radical act. And so off of that, I feel like when I read that, because I read that probably around like 2020, 2021, like kind of earlier on in my teaching journey, like that really changed my mind a lot. And I think like that was what allowed, like, okay, also like our bodies are going to change so much in this lifetime. You're going to get you're going to lose weight, like you're going to age, like the different activities and decisions you make are going to impact how your body feels and what it looks like. So you literally just have to learn to adapt to it and adapt with it. And that just existing like that is pretty radical. And that's what this book taught me. So
it's kind of like the leaps and bounds I've had physically over the last 5 years. That's why I feel like COVID was such a weird time jump. It's like, it's wild, but I've come to really like the skin that I'm in, you know, and like that, but that's been such a journey, because like before it was the body ideal was to be skinny and I think unfortunately we're coming back to that pendulum swing with Ozempic.
Definitely.
And it's really unfortunate. Like I find, but I looked at a picture of myself the other day and I was like, I don't want to look like that. I like where I am now. I love being in this body.
Yes, you know? That is peace. That is success.
It is peace. Yes. It's and like you're saying, it's a constant journey. It's a constant project with yourself. How does pole help you really be in your body and like really like just love the skin you're in? I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but
that's
it's
the
the
key.
truth.
That's just really the reality of it. And it's like, it's a constant mind-body connection. I think it is, okay, it's a couple things and there's layers to it. So it's number one, just the fulfillment you get from this, again, idea of we can do hard things. Like,
yeah.
I can bruise and learn new things and recover from the bruise and come back stronger and then keep building my foundation off of that and become a beautiful pole dancer. And then there's the mental aspect of beating this, you know, risk aversion that we face in adulthood. So that's there's that whole part of it. And then there's also just when you're actually pole dancing and when you're doing, I think, any movement medium or practice, like you experience this in a Pilates class, in a yoga class, but like when you are like just in your flow state, concentrated on doing your routine and getting the move down, like it is really a form of meditation. Like it's just your body and connecting to your body and making sure that you get in and out of things safely and with grace and with your own sauce. And that is like such a meditative, it's just like a connection to like the source. Like it's like entering this flow state and that feels so special. And that is like so sacred. And I think that is such a strong like mind body connection. So when you strengthen the connection between your mind and your body in all these different ways, like you just feel more confident in yourself. Like knowing that you can do hard things and knowing that you can access this flow state is like so powerful because it exists within all of us. We just need, you know, to get some skills to unlock it and get there one day. But it exists within all of us. It does. And that's like, as humans, like being creative, it's like, it's a birthright. Like we all have it within us. It's just like, we don't always think to access it.
I don't think we honor it.
We don't. And that's such a shame because it does exist within all of us. And, you know, some of us are born into different spaces where we're allowed to access it more easily than others. And we can all be on our own journey in accessing it. But pole is definitely like a huge like portal for doing that.
I love that. I'm trying your class because I love Pilates.
Oh, you kill it.
I love reformer because I'm like, ooh, like I really feel like I'm flying, or like, you know, when you're doing the like what are they called? What are they called? I forgot what they're called. When you're like planks, when you're doing planks and when you're doing a pike or you're doing a mountain climber or something like that, I'm like, wow, I am so connected to my body and I am doing a very hard thing.
Feels so good.
And then afterwards I like grunt and moan like a fucking muscle.
I know.
you know, I'm like, ugh. It's just like, because I feel so connected to my body and my strength, my inner core strength. I think it's like, it's ridiculously intoxicating.
Yes, it's such a gift. It becomes addicting.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the best feeling. That's a good addiction to have.
Because you were doing all the classes at Palm Heights, and I was like, this girl is moving. Like you're like, I'm here for 2 weeks, so I'm gonna do every class.
I did everything.
I was like, okay, T.
I did everything, and it was so fun. It was the best.
What's the next thing you want to explore in movement?
It's hard to say. I'm hoping it just like comes to me. What have I really enjoyed? I mean, I think right now I'm curious about like maybe melding like my passion for like music and performance with everything that I've already built in my movement. Your
performances, girl.
Yeah, thank you.
With the opera?
Yeah, so I want to like continue exploring, I think, like what that means for me. And again, coming back to this idea of like synthesis, like how can we synthesize? So that's really what I want to focus on. But I'm always like looking for new ways to challenge my body. Like it's so funny because even that time I spent at Palm Heights trying every single class ever, like I was doing like boxing, capoeira, Pilates, Ashtanga, like anything that I did actually made my pole dancing so much better for that time. So I'm like, okay, it all helps each other. Like nothing is separate. It's all super connected. So I'm down for any adventure. I'll try anything once. I will.
I love that.
I really will.
I really appreciate that. We kind of have to close up our time here with you, but this is a little bit of a segue.
Okay.
But you and I discussed this at Palm Heights, and I thought it was really fun. And I wanted to add it in here. We talked about dating.
Oh my God,
because I was like, you are such a person who's in their mind, their shit. You're clocked the fuck in, but you obviously can't burn yourself out.
Yes.
Cami's got to play.
Yeah.
And
we have to play. We have to have fun.
And you had a theory that I feel like connects to all this, where you were like, I don't have a roster.
Yes.
I have decentered men. You started there, but not in a way that was you weren't like down with men, but
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just more like I'm focused on my own shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I honestly, I feel like I coined this term like literally that night. Or I feel like it arose in the
It came
conversation.
to you.
It came in the conversation. I was like, this makes sense. So, okay. When it comes to dating, I don't resonate and I don't claim like this idea of like I hate men, like men are like I don't believe that. Like I don't want to believe that. And I think like if I say that, if I continue to affirm that, then I'm going to start seeing that in every single man I meet, and I don't even want to see that or believe that. So that I hate men are good for nothing, men ain't shit. Like I you know what? I understand feminine rage deeply, but like I also don't even want to like I just think the things that we say about ourselves and others have the power to become our reality.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I just choose not to resonate with that. And even with this, I think we were talking about the idea of having a roster. And
yes.
I don't claim that either. Like, I don't want to call them a roster because then it just sounds like I'm checking things off a list and like just filling my roster. Like for what? I coined this term fan club.
Period.
Like, I don't want to call anyone a member of my roster. Like, we're just member of, like, if you're in my fan club, hopefully, like, I want to be in your fan club too.
True.
The fan club is a mutual exchange. But I just feel like letting other people that aren't you have power over you and the time that you spend with them is just not effective. It's not productive for me. It's not helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to think of having members of a fan club. And yeah, there's different ranks to the fan club. Like there's the president, CEO of the fan club. There's new additions to the fan club. And
yes.
And I can see like where they are in their fan club. Sometimes they take a break from the fan club and that's okay. Like they were once part of the fan club, they can join again. But like I think just the term fan club is like a little more exciting because it's like you're my fan and I mean hopefully I'm your fan too.
Right.
And maybe we don't know each other super well, but like I can still be a fan of you in the way that I want to be a fan of you in a certain context. So I think like fan club, also it just helps me view things a little bit more positively. Like I don't think like dating or getting to know someone in whatever context, like I don't think it should be a situation where you're trying to prove yourself.
Right.
Like, it should never be that. And if it ever feels like that, then it's probably not in alignment with you.
I completely agree. There's too much time wasted on that.
Like, why am I trying to prove myself to you? Like, you should just be in my fan club. Like, I know if you're in my fan club, I don't have to prove myself to you because you're already my fan. I don't have to make you be my fan. Like, I just know you're my fan. And that's great. I want to be your fan too. So I think approaching it from this like shared mutual like respect and fandom is like way better. Cause like think about if I want to build a partnership with you, like we should be each other's number one fan.
No, I completely agree with that. You should be like, my person is the shit.
Yes.
And they think that you're the shit. And like, and it really, there has to be that mutual respect. And I think also though, but it really starts with you and like having respect for yourself.
Yeah.
And so And I think fan club really speaks to that.
Actually, that is true because it's like, I think like there's so many just badass women that I know, and like I just feel like I hear so many constant conversations of them feeling totally defeated by like dating or maybe like dealing with a man or someone that like really drained their energy, depleted them, or made them dim the light. And I'm like, no, girl, that man is not on your roster. Like they should be in your fan club. Yeah. And so it's just like shifting the term because like you deserve a fan club. Like
you do.
We all deserve a fan club. If you're out here doing great things, working hard and bringing joy to others, like, bro, you're growing a fan club. You're not growing a roster. It's your fan club. And that creates a healthy distance. Like it creates just a little space for you to continue being the star that you deserve to be. And your fan club, they can join when they want. And you're not waiting for the fan club to grow. Like this has helped me a lot. Like I think navigating my early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
Like I've had moments where I haven't felt like I had no fan club. And I'd have to check on myself and be like, okay, what preconceived notions do I have about myself and about the men? And what am I seeking out? Like, cause another thing that I found is like sometimes if I think I really have a crush on somebody or like I'm like really falling for someone, that it wasn't that I actually really loved the person or the way that they were treating me. It was more like they had like some part of themselves that they embodied in their personality that I just wanted to embody for myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot with friends. You see that a lot with friendships.
Yes.
Yeah. So that I could see you being like, I like that person's ambition. Or
exactly.
like, you know, their relationship with their family or something like that.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so I would think that meant that
You had a crush
I
on
needed
them.
to fall in love with them and marry them. But
Yeah.
like,
I thought you were gonna be like, I just talked to them and realized I didn't have a crush on them.
okay, that also too, that sometimes that happens. And then you can just say, like, they could stay in the fan club.
You're like, okay, you're really cute. You stay in the fan club. Exactly.
You can stay in the fan club and like, yeah.
Send me fan mail.
Exactly. Like, we should all build our fan club. And I also think like your fan club can extend to like your friends and like and your colleagues. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
You should be cheering each other on. And I think that's the thing. I think women are more apt to say it to other women and be like cishet women are like, I'm in your fan club. I really love you. And I think that can further itself into dating.
Yes.
So I'm with this fan club.
We should all have fan clubs.
We should all have fan clubs.
Take stock of your fan clubs, guys.
I hope
Who's in
yours
your fan club?
is very full and it's giving.
It's abundant. Yes.
Yes.
The fan club is abundant. I'm very grateful.
I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for that piece of advice. Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap up. But the question I always ask guests is, your Auntie Cami, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give the kiddies who are coming up in the game? You've given us nuggets, gems, but
dang, you know what? I kind of just want to pass on my auntie's advice, which is activate. Like, just that verb, activate.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, even if you don't think it's perfect, like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, just do it. Even if you have no answers, just see where it takes you, see if you like it. Like, I always like, it's just all part of the research process. Like, even if you hated the results, you're fine. Just activate. So I honestly, I can't take credit for this. Shout out to my auntie Lisa, activate. I spread that on to everyone. Activate.
I love that.
Just activate.
Because it's especially if you're a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm. Just do something. You know how it is. Yeah.
I do. You had a Virgo moon. We feel you, and you just need to do the damn thing and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you become.
And then one thing leads to another, and then
a pole operatic prodigy performer.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Cami.
Thank you for
sharing
me.
your story with us.
This was so fun.
Okay, good.
I'm honored to be on the podcast.
I'm happy. No, I'm really happy you came on because I was
fun.
like, this girl has layers.
Yap about the layers. Yeah.
No, but like, period. Listen, there are a lot of people out here who do things, but they don't have anything to say.
Oh.
You have plenty to say. You got a book in you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's a dream one day. I want to write a book.
I think like Broadway book,
Something will happen. It's in the works.
EGOT.
Dream. Manifesting.
You never know. I mean,
you never know.
seriously.
Life is random. Life is so random.
Exactly. Like, you're someone who you're uninhibited. So that's a superpower. So,
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And like, you can take that anywhere.
Yeah. True. It's real.
So thank you.
Thank you, Marjan. Thank you, Auntie. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Yay.
We'll see you next time.
Mwah. I don't know which camera to look at, but
what happened? No, we didn't hear you. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yay! I want to give you a hug. That was so much.
Well, that's it for this week, BBs. I want to thank my guest, the amazing Cami Árboles, for joining me today. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you loved this conversation as much as I did. If you want to show your auntie some love, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with your community, and leave us a review in the App Store. It makes a world of difference. Until next time, Auntie sends her love.